Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. And now the Friday Crime Report. Austin, Texas, Monday, August 11th, 2025, 2 o'clock p.m. Yes, it has happened again. At 2 o'clock p.m., Austin police received a 911 for what they call a hotshot call. It's a term primarily reserved for high-priority situations that might involve a shooting, stabbing, or other traumatic incident where urgency is critical. The Austin police responded to the report of a shooting at a Target located at 8601 Research Boulevard. There, they found 3 people with gunshot wounds in the parking lot. The shooting did not occur inside the store. Customers were evacuated to a nearby pet store for cover. The killer, reported to be a white male, then stole a Toyota 4Runner from the parking lot and fled the scene. Police said the killer attempted to steal a water truck at the 7800 block of MoPac Expressway, opening the car's door and assaulting the driver, but because the gunman wasn't able to put the truck into drive, instead he returned to the Toyota 4Runner after brandishing a pistol at the victim. Minutes later, the killer caused a multi-vehicle crash in the stolen Toyota, crashing into a Volkswagen before the Toyota landed on top of an Infiniti SUV. Getting out of the Toyota, the killer approached the Volkswagen and assaulted the driver before pushing her out of the car and fleeing the scene in the Volkswagen. About 10 minutes later, after stealing the Volkswagen, the killer reportedly tried to break into a Waymo vehicle nearby. Ultimately unable to, he drove off in the stolen Volkswagen again. A few minutes later, the killer ended up in the 2100 block of La Casa Drive in South Austin, outside the home of someone reported to be a Bible study acquaintance of the killer's. The killer threw a brick through the window of this acquaintance, and the acquaintance recognized the killer from their time in Bible study together and called the police. A little before 3 o'clock p.m., this is fully 45 minutes after this killer began his rampage, the Austin police finally received a call reporting a naked man walking around the backyard of a residence in the 2400 block of La Casa Drive, with the caller saying that the man ran into a porta potty before leaving the area. It was at this time that the police finally found the killer naked on Montclair Street. The suspect didn't respond to police commands, but because he was white rather than shoot him dead, they instead used a stun gun on him and took him safely into custody. Interesting how the police's so-called training is never a problem that causes them to gun down a white suspect in a hail of bullets, even after they commit some ghastly act of violence. Meanwhile, that exact same training always causes them to automatically gun down unarmed black citizens. And this is never seen as a contradiction. This is why all that talk about police training is a total lie. Now, police told the customers at the Target that they all better find alternative means to get home because all of their cars in the parking lot were considered to be part of an active crime scene. Speaking of which, medical units at Target began CPR and other life-saving measures on the shooting victims. 2 of them, 1 adult and 1 a child, were declared dead in the parking lot, while crews transported a second adult to a nearby hospital with critical life-threatening injuries. That second adult died at the hospital. The victims have since been identified as Rosa Machuca, age 24, a Target employee, Adam Chow, age 65, and Chow's 4-year-old granddaughter, who was unnamed because she's a minor. Police didn't identify the killer initially, can't imagine why, but when they did, he was identified as 32-year-old Ethan Nineker. Nineker has been charged with 2 counts of capital murder for the 4-year-old granddaughter's death and for Adam Chow, and he's also been charged with the first-degree felony murder of the Target employee. And you won't be surprised to learn that this wasn't Nineker's first run-in with the law. He spent time behind bars in 2016 and 2017 for family violence, driving while intoxicated, and violating the terms of his bond or protective order. The local thug patrol in Austin said that they already had prior knowledge of this killer.
I'm thinking about the past incidents that we had with him on mental health runs, and where is the follow-up there? And for someone to have the capacity to take the life of 3 innocent people and a 4-year-old child. As we move forward and are looking more into this, it will be interesting to kind of peel that back and see where those failures took place.
Can you believe the nerve? No matter how many times this happens nationwide, the same pathetic script always plays itself out. The police chief saying that they were trying to find out where the failures took place that allowed this tragedy to occur. Well, as the Black Grassroots, we can go ahead and answer that one for you. It's because the killer has racial immunity from the law. The police have already begun the predictable covering for him, all of the splaining, telling anyone who will listen that he was suffering from mental problems. That train's never late. So we don't even know anything about this creep, but the police are already telling everybody that no matter what he did, he had to have been crazy. There had to have been something wrong with him because clearly no member of the dominant society would ever do such a thing, right? The police chief was also busy complaining that the killer got the gun that he used in this crime from a family member, and how irresponsible it was to give a gun to someone who had a history of mental illness. The police have said that they're going to be bringing charges against that family member as well. That's all well and good, but it's ridiculous to yet again be talking about we got to go back and review and see where the failures took place, because the police already had contact with this guy in the past. He was already on their radar. And yet again, they didn't do anything about him. Failure indeed. This was no failure. The system didn't fail at all. This was the system working exactly the way that it was designed, to give racial immunity from law to certain people so that police don't arrest them, so that DAs don't charge them, and judges don't sentence them either. We've seen this pattern play itself out on a daily basis, oftentimes more frequently than that. This is a sad social script that keeps playing itself out because this is the way the society is designed. The goal is not to stop these atrocities. The goal is to make sure that the freedom of movement and activity that this society grants to those of a certain skin color is maintained no matter what. Because this is how this white supremacist society gives what amounts to tangible benefits to people based on race. There's an open, blatant, hands-off policy where certain people are concerned, no matter their criminal history. And that's the reason why these things keep on happening and will continue to. The goal is not to safeguard the society. The goal is to give minor lip service to some pathetic veneer of sympathy whenever these atrocities occur, but to always make sure that they go back to business as usual. And usual is the routine and deliberate targeting of black people and the complete and thorough ignoring of everyone else. And don't think it is a coincidence that the police and the white media both made sure to report that this guy's acquaintance was a Bible study colleague. They had to throw that in there. This is part of giving sympathy to these creeps. He went to Bible study. Well, he's from the Deep South. Clearly there had to have been something wrong with him. This was a God-fearing man, so whatever happens, we're certainly not going to say that this is pathologized. This is not a pathology from his community. This is just some sort of freak one-off. Yeah, a one-off that just keeps happening on a near-daily basis. Next, they'll be doing profiles about him, saying that his co-workers had nothing but good things to say about him. And something else that we're also not going to be seeing is any of these legislators in Texas who love to go on an orgy of writing new laws about anything that they think remotely might have to do with harming black people. All of a sudden, in this case, there's going to be no laws written regarding this. And it's not a matter of gun crime or not. This is not a matter of maintaining the Second Amendment. This is a matter of maintaining the First Amendment, the real First Amendment, which happens to be racial immunity from law. And that being the case, they made their minds up a long time ago that the bodies can go ahead and hit the floor, even the babies. This is the price that they decided that they were going to pay in order to maintain their system of racial goodies, giveaways, and guarantees. If there was equal justice under the law, if these suburban psychos were treated like black people are treated, this stuff could never happen because it wouldn't be allowed to. But they're fine with it. Even the deaths of their own children, the deaths of themselves, and a society that becomes a shooting gallery, because that's just the cost of doing the dirty business of white supremacy. And I think we can all see the excruciating irony at the fact that this happened at a Target. Talk about the right name for such a terrible thing to have happened at this location. And yet this is not going to lead to any sort of meaningful, lasting change, because the real goal here is to make sure that the Ninakers of this world are never actually touched. And that's the reason why, even though this slaughter happened at a Target, instead of treating this as the 3-alarm emergency that it is and responding aggressively, this white supremacist society is going to circle the wagons for itself, sweep it under the rug, and just treat it as yet another cleanup on aisle 3. And that's this week's Friday Crime Report. Keep your eyes open and stay on alert, because there's a lot worse criminals out there than the ones the white corporate media chooses to show you. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Nico, FBA Queen, Suleiman Alaji, Darren Nooks, and Leftrabia Lawson. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.